All right, you guys. Welcome to class 4, part 1, visual storytelling for painters. We just had a wonderful conversation. Thank you guys so much for showing up early and tuning in. And I'm really excited to talk a lot about atmospheric perspective and how we use that in storytelling to kind of create a sense of depth and literally the feeling, the just the atmosphere of the mood of our scene. So we're going to do a little bit of a communal painting. I've got let me go ahead and spotlight it.
I like that.
Oh, is it already spotlighted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let me just change my view. All right, great. So there you go. You can see it's a pretty basic. That is basically a black and white acrylic painting there, just kind of scribbled in. During one of our little Thursday meetings, I asked for some feedback and advice. Right above it, you can see the little photo that I manipulated heavily. And it was just a black and white photo. It's a combination of actually 2 different coasts on Oregon. One is down near California, and the other one is up here along the central coast of Oregon during the big waves. It's just these kind of beautiful arched rocks, and I just really loved how it just kind of led back to the open with this kind of crashing wave in the foreground. And I spent about 30 minutes this morning trying to find color versions of those photos, and I could not find them. So I am stuck to, and this can be a good thing, stuck to this very limited reference, which I think can be a lot of fun. Those little white dashes of clouds up above, that was just us in our conversation talking about how do we create a sense of movement. Let me go ahead and move up to my easel here. Give me 1 second. And can you guys still hear me pretty well?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And I need to do one more thing besides get a sip of coffee. And
I have a question.
yes, please. I'm going to turn this camera off here.
You do not have any color reference there, so you're going to be winging it based on your own memory of the rock formation colors?
I'm going to even do more than that. I'm going to base it on all of our memories of this place you've never been. All right. So another thing we did is we changed my camera from being behind me to the left side of me. But because it's so large, when I go to mix paint, I will probably be kind of getting in the way. I apologize. I should put some kind of cool tattoo on the back of my neck so you guys have it like a billboard. But anyways, yeah, it's just a design, right? And last week we just talked about what is the movement and what is the flow, right? How do we want the viewer to move through the piece? So a lot of artists will talk about a focal point. I like to talk about focal areas. And I think when you do have a bigger painting, you can have multiple focal areas. I think you should have a hierarchy. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
I think having one focal point a lot of times it can be really useful. It's like the ultimate poem, right? It's like a 1-sentence poem. But I think that a lot of times it's nice to have these different spots that we kind of get rewarded by as we move through the picture, right? So I've got like kind of interesting trees. I've obviously got this arch in the rocks here, which this is the thing that's a little bit the most confounding.
That's a hole?
It would be, yeah. The wave will be crashing up. So this would be the real focal point because you got a crashing wave. I don't know if you guys can see that. We have a crashing wave in front of a hole.
Okay.
Right.
I just
So
thought
this
that was
area
a wave.
is definitely the focal point, right? It's like you could look at the rest of the painting and there's not a lot of sound, right? Mentally. But when you look at that area, all of a sudden there's quite a bit of sound. Like all of a sudden it's crashing. It's dynamic. So that is like, I'm not sure if this crashing wave and this hole in the rocks, which I'm always so attracted to. They're all along the Oregon, Washington, down into the Northern California coast. You get these awesome arches, which, you know, are just so beautiful. But I don't know if this and this is too much.
Can you move the hole over?
I thought it was a wave as well. I didn't realize it was a hole.
Right. And the fact that they're side by side, because this crashing wave is going to be actually really big.
I think it'll be a real Can you hear?
Go ahead.
Me? Oh, I'm looking at that big hillside or mountain or whatever that is, with it having the arch. It almost looks too thick to have an arch that would show through. I'm really curious and interested to see how you make it look more like have depth to it, you know, in sort of like a tunnel, as opposed to, I can't figure out how you're going to do that.
Right. What I would do is this whole area here will be dark. So it starts to concave there. And yeah, that's what I mean. Is this like too much? Like, is this an unnecessary element? It'd sure be easier to get rid of it. But at the same time, okay, so now am I keeping the viewer here? Again, imagine this crashing wave coming all the way up to here. Right? So it's so much focus. And then I'm going to have the sun setting back here so that the light is coming through. Is at least how I'm kind of envisioning it. So then you get this glowing edge on the waves.
Michael, would right behind that, the next rock behind, you could add more? No, the one right behind where, right there.
Yeah.
That would have to be lighter somehow to show. You'd have to make it look like it's more distant to see to get the expression of the hole and the wave and all of that.
Yeah, no,
And
yeah,
the
good
color
point.
right.
I think we need a fancy wave rather than
The hole.
Yeah, I don't read it as a whole. I thought it was some kind of a weird shaped wave. It doesn't.
Yeah,
read.
so did I.
Yeah.
Unless the
All right.
waves crashes through the hole.
Well, I would ixnay the wave.
Yeah,
It's
I
too
would-
far away from the further shore. I mean, the other side of that rock.
I'd get rid of the waves and make the hole bigger and
Um,
make some kind of beautiful water effect. You know, a slow water.
I
Something-
vote for big wave.
Because that shape bothers me. That bottom shape bothers me.
yeah. Me too.
Yep, that
I
whole,
like-
the
I
whole
like-
waves, where the waves hit the land, you know, right directly
Okay.
in front of us. That's so flat.
I like the sound of the crashing waves. I mean, I think that sounds very dramatic, and it contrasts nicely with the perspective at the back of the picture. I think it makes a lovely
Story.
mix.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't
The
that
pathway.
interesting? We all have different ideas.
yeah. I'm gonna. I think so far only one person has defended the rock, the hole. So I think we'll probably get rid of that.
Yeah.
But what we can do is just see how it goes. Because
Okay.
I can always, I mean, that's the great thing about oils.
It
So
could
what I'm
have
gonna
misty
start with
gray.
is you guys can see that this panel is actually gray, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
So that's going to be a little tough because I like to do the glazing technique a lot of times. You guys saw that in the little short demo that I did where I just glazed in. And let me hold that up real quick. I worked on it yesterday.
Is this
Not on the
MDF,
foreground, but
MDF
on the
board or is
sky
it?
and
Oh, it's
the sky
glorious.
and the
Nice.
water.
Oh, wow.
So
Beautiful.
Right. So you can see I've got a lot left to work on here.
Yeah.
But just kind of knocking in colors feels really, it's not as bright as it shows on the camera here. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to come through. And so that's what I wanted to share today is on this one with the far back hills. And
Are they
the
both birch plywood or MDF board or
Yeah, these are birch.
birch? Thank you.
Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my typical glazing technique. I had a bit of hesitance on doing it this way but I kind of want to show you guys how if I were just glazing in and then continuing to work on it, how I would build it up. Because the fun thing is, once I start adding white to some of these glazes, it's going to be a little noisy as it's not holding really tight on this right side. I don't have. So anyways, it'll be a little bit like a drum. So again, I'm thinking my sun is kind of on this side over here, shining behind these trees, kind of coming across. And that's where I like the idea of the wave more than the cave, is that the wave brings us back. It's like we're using the light, we're using the directional light and shadows to direct our eye and move us. So it's not only just the values, the lights and the darks, but we're also going to be using temperature, color shifts, and saturation of color.
Wow.
This is Indian yellow.
That is Indian yellow. Yeah, boy, I am a sucker for it. Quinacridone red.
Whoa.
Oh,
Ooh,
it could be Michael the Brave.
Yeah,
Great.
Totally what I was thinking.
Michael the Stupid.
no,
No,
No.
you always pull it out of the dirt.
yeah, it does.
What color was the acrylic again? Was it ivory black?
Just a
or-
black and white, basically.
It's not brown, because it looks sort of brownish on my camera.
There may have been burnt umber. A lot of times I will mix a little bit of burnt umber with my white, just so it's a little warmer. Otherwise, when I come across it with the yellow, it will turn green, which you can kind of see it doing.
Yeah.
Because the black in in most paints is actually a dark blue.
Hmm.
So a little bit of burnt umber, a little red into my blacks will kind of warm it up, and then I get. And again, I realize I have a gray underpainting versus a white. A white would be much more vibrant. Yeah, you're like, more vibrant than that? Why? What would you do with that? That's crazy.
So the underpainting always affects or can affect what will go on top. Because,
if it's, yeah, especially when you're dealing with transparency.
yeah,
So I'm going to come back through and make a lot of this much more opaque. I'm going to use thicker paint. I'm going to truly try to get my impressionist on a little bit and actually add some density to the paint.
Hello.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and add blue to that, which is dangerous. So those of you who haven't done this kind of just glazing in, a lot of times glazing is reserved for the end of a painting, like to kind of harmonize colors and everything. But I actually like to kind of do this where I glaze in almost as the, oh shoot, I got to stop grabbing it from the painting. I got to grab the whole easel, otherwise it undoes itself there. Give me 1 second. Lock it back in place. I got to grab it from here, otherwise it comes undone a little bit. So now I'm going to grab blue and get into my shadows a little bit. And I've got two semi-transparent blues. I got my ultramarine and my manganese blue.
Are you using one brush or different?
I am, so it's going to be a little muddy. Yeah, smarter me would have cleaned it and kept these colors a little separate. But again, I'm really aware that I'm still just kind of mapping in. Still just kind of getting the feeling of where my warms, my cools, where's my light hitting? Where's my shadow areas? You see that, how all of a sudden this wave just kind of started to appear a little bit more?
yeah.
Even though it's very messy and, you know, dare I say, a little bit gross. This is also, if the sun is kind of back here, right? Coming across, these trees are backlit. That means this portion of the rocks is in shadow. And I'm just representing shadow with cools, my blues, basically, at this point.
And is this portion of
My
the water
light-
in shadow too?
What's that?
Is this portion of the water in shadow as well? Is that why this part is blue?
Yeah, I mean, especially down here behind the crashing wave, there's water going to be coming in through these rocks.
And interestingly, now that cave kind of looks like a cave because of the
Yeah.
blue in there, the
That's true.
shadow.
Oh, you guys can't keep changing your mind.
Well, I say keep the cave and make it just a flashy, misty look. Ooh.
Let's see if we can do it. Let's see if we can get away with a cave. Everybody loves a cave, right?
I love it.
Adds a little mystery.
And
I
the
like
thing
it,
is-
but I don't feel like it's in the right place.
Right. And if it's not, you know what I mean? If it doesn't work, we'll just paint it out.
He can
Okay.
adjust it. Michael can adjust anything.
I'm the chiropractor of paintings.
That's right. It's never broken.
Just out of alignment.
That's okay. You can fix that.
Well, and I mean, the truth is, you know, we all want to overcomplicate our paintings, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're just like, oh, you know what's better than one focal point, two focal points. If two focal points working, you know, we should probably have three. Oh, and four, and then
Of course.
the whole painting is a focal point. All right, so horrible, hideous, disgusting painting. But what I'm doing again is I'm mapping out my almost like a heat map, right? My light's coming through. It's going to be striking these hills, this edge of the hill, the backlit trees. These trees will be a little bit backlit, probably. I've got the fog that's being lit. It'll be on the edges of the water going up into the hills. I've got the light coming across. So I'm really thinking about all that. And this is just a way to kind of clarify this thought process for me, right? You do not need to paint this way. A lot of people can get away without even doing value studies. They can just go straight to the painting. I find that I can get away with that sometimes, but a lot of times just that little bit of preliminary thought and effort and just mapping or creating a blueprint or whatever terminology you want to use. But it's just a chance for me to continue to think about this. Like, what do I want? Because I could still change my mind, right? I could literally change the sun to over here at this point. So it's literally, I guess, that whole having a conversation with the painting. There's a bit of paint thinner mixed in with these transparent colors. So I can, I'm going to be able to get back in and hopefully paint right over the top of them quite quickly. You see how I'm kind of trying to keep the blues separate from the yellows unless I want a green.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be the difficult area because they're right side by side by side.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, if I just mixed it all together, yellow, red, and blue makes brown, which can be a great undercolor as well.
Is there any way to move the canvas up a little higher? Because
Yep.
for me,
Ooh, I
it's,
almost
the
grabbed the
bottom is
canvas.
blocked
There
off.
you go. Is that better?
There we go. Thank you.
All right. I'm also, because there's paint thinner, just taking my paper towel across this. I'm just kind of making it less drippy and less runny and less slippery so that when I come through and paint in there with color, and I promise you, it's not going to be this psychedelic. It's not going to be this noxious. And I should stop talking because some of you might be going, oh my gosh, I love the strength of those colors. Whereas I see this and just go, oh boy, that's a lot. But I do know that having these nice, warm, strong colors underneath really helps. And sometimes those little bits that show through can be really electric and live. So can you kind of see that now, the movement of light through this piece?
Yeah.
And now I'm going to even push it because I know, again, my light is over here, right? My sun is just off scene, which is nice when, the sun is not my my prima ballerina, and because it's gray, it's not going to get so bright, right? Remember, the underpainting is gray. So I'm not going to get that super, super strong, really electric feel. I could on these clouds that I had painted with white, right? Watch the difference. If I move the paint there, how bright that gets versus removing the paint underneath it on the gray. Big difference. Right? So be aware, like part of me this morning was like, this painting isn't ready for this stage. Like it'd have been really nice to go through and establish it clearer with the acrylics, really push those contrasts and add more white to it. But I want to do this painting in an opaque way versus just tons and tons of glazing. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
I was going to ask you why you hadn't used white on the edge of the rocks where the light is going to be hitting. But
Because
and I
was
wondered if
too-
you were going to be going in opaque, and that's why you didn't want to have it white.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you answered the question for me. Yeah, you're right. Is because partly I just wanted to work on this painting and I thought it was a good example. But yes, if I was going to do this just for me, not as an example and a lesson, I would have spent an extra couple hours this morning really carving these out, getting my lights and my darks established. Actually painting the wave in with the lights would have been a really good idea. Because again, I picture this wave being much bigger here. But I can do that with opaque white paint as well. So I really love transparency and working with glazes. But I talked to my students about this before. What's funny is most all the paintings that my wife and I buy are thick, almost impressionistic paintings. So it's like I really like other people painting with a lot of paint. But for some reason, it's never quite become part of my signature. It's never felt really natural. But that is part of my challenge last year and this year is to paint with more paint. So you see how I'm just kind of keep revisiting it and all of a sudden it's just damping down. It feels a little more harmonious, but I'm still retaining my yellow, red, and blues.
Yeah.
But where the blues and reds are meeting, we're getting these purples. Where the reds and yellows are meeting, we're getting these oranges. But if I bring that blue all the way up into here, I'll get green, which could be okay if I want it, because ocean water, especially in Pacific Northwest, can be really quite green. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Big difference from the gray and black and white painting before, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how to mix my colors. I'm just going to go ahead and move this over for a little bit. And we're going to focus on color. I'm going to actually move it quite a bit. So I'm not, again, getting in the way here. Let's scrape this off. I like a clean palette. And for a big painting like this, typically I would be using my great big mixing tray here, right? Much, much bigger than this little guy. But I'm going to see what I can do. If there's some piles that I need to move down here to get them out of the way, I'll be willing to do that.
Could you remind me? remind me again about the colors along the top, unless you were planning to do that anyway.
Yeah, no problem. Always feel free to remind me. So we've got titanium white, which is just kind of my go-to white. There's other whites that are great, but titanium just seems to be the safest all-arounder that I could use for anything. And I can usually get away with it. It's kind of a mid. It's not too warm. It's not too cool. It's not too transparent. It's quite opaque. So I can use it to make my transparent colors opaque, which is what we're going to be doing today.
Which brand?
Right now I've got an M Graham out, but I really don't care.
Oh, don't they dry differently? I don't really know terribly much about it.
Yes, M Graham will be one of the slower. This is a walnut oil base. I don't actually even think that's what's on here.
Anyway, I don't want to slow you up, but I just
yeah, but I truthfully don't care about titanium white that much. Like I will buy cheap paint. I'll just use all of it. This is a cadmium yellow light.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a strong, very very opaque color for a yellow. It may not be the right choice, but because I have an Indian yellow beside it, which is a very transparent color, they work well together. And so I've got a yellow that has a really good strong coverage, but it's cooler, much cooler. It almost leans towards a green compared to this Indian yellow, which leans towards an orange. Here I've
How does that cad yellow compare to a Hansa yellow? I know Hansa yellow is very transparent.
Hansa yellow is, semi-transparent. Typically, let me pull a tube out, but typically a Hansa yellow is a semi-transparent. I've only rarely found a light yellow that is transparent, very rarely. But Hansa yellow is probably more typically what I use. But if I want coverage, if I want to paint opaquely, Hansa yellow can really kind of be annoying almost. It just kind of disappears.
The cad yellow is light, or it's a cad yellow straight, and that the brand is the same with this one, because that I found a lot of variety in the yellows.
Right. Yeah. This one's gambling. Most of my paints are gambling. In fact, all of the other colors are gambling.
Was that a cad yellow medium that you got up there?
Cad yellow light.
Yeah, because it looks light. Yeah. Okay.
And then I've got an Indian yellow, which again is a very transparent. I'm sure I've shown you guys this, but what I love about Indian yellow, like if I could only have one yellow, these days it would almost be an Indian yellow, because watch, I can almost make a cadmium.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
It gets yellower as you add white to it.
Wow.
I guess not. I can't get a cadmium light, but I can get a really.
Yeah.
I just love it. It's very useful, but at the same time, it sure does mix weird and make kind of ugly colors when you're not using it correctly. I've got a cadmium red, I think medium, which I don't typically use anymore, but I was using on one of my other paintings. So these are all leftover paints from yesterday's painting session.
What would you use ordinarily, if not cadmium red medium?
Just because the cadmiums are so expensive now, I'm using Naphthol Scarlet a lot. But again, it's a semi-transparent. So I've found that almost all my colors are leaning towards semi-transparent or transparent, which is wonderful when you want to do glazing, but not so great when you want to do direct or opaque painting.
Yeah.
Quinacridone red, which is again one of my favorite colors. I used to hate it. I used to think it was just too pink, too vibrant, too crazy.
Also transparent. Yes, it's transparent.
Very, very transparent. Yeah. But now I'm realizing, I used to use alizarin crimson like we were all taught. But now I found just a touch of ultramarine blue and it becomes an alizarin crimson, or very close to. But you can never make an alizarin crimson into a quinacridone, but you can make a quinacridone into an alizarin crimson. So that's truly how I choose so many of my colors, is I want the biggest range with them.
You can also
And I
get
won't
really
use-
great purple with quinacridone red.
Oh, it's so good with either of the blues.
Yeah.
Like this one with the manganese blue, it's just gorgeous. I've sold whole series of paintings just by this purple.
So nice.
I've got ultramarine blue, which is probably the color I've used the longest besides white. I don't think I've ever replaced that. If I were to replace it, I could use a ultramarine, or I mean a phthalo blue, or
Like
yeah, there's a number of others, but I really like
Manganese.
ultramarine blue. It's a purplish blue. It's a semi-transparent, and it just plays well with others. And then manganese blue, which is I used to use,
Yeah, that's I'm surprised at manganese. Why are you using that instead of maybe phthalo blue to the green?
you could, but the truth is that phthalo blue, it's not a true phthalo.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
true.
manganese blue is not a true manganese.
Right.
It's actually a phthalo derivative.
Uh,
So if you're brave, and I don't know what name I gave you today, if you're the brave, but if
no,
you're brave, use phthalo blue. It's wonderful, or phthalo blue green, or whatever. But the truth is that manganese blue is a phthalo derivative, meaning that it's a weakened version of phthalo blue.
right.
So what I found is it's a phthalo that I can control.
Oh,
Right.
I'll use
It's-
manganese if I'm doing a high key painting or a medium, and I'll use Payne's gray if I'm doing a low key.
Perfect. Yeah. And I actually have Payne's gray on my palette.
Okay.
Yeah, Payne's gray. Let's just mix a touch of Payne's gray over here. It's just so nice at neutralizing.
And if you put Indian orange with it, it makes some really cool greens.
Right. And one of my favorite cool purples is, so yeah, Payne's gray is making its way onto my palette more and more and more. I really like its calming. So I think of Payne's gray as a really, really dark, cool blue, almost. Maybe even a warm blue. I don't know. I should check that.
it can be
So yeah,
both.
and then these colors are just the cleaning up my palette yesterday. These are just leftovers from these mixes. And then I've got Payne's gray.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, great question. And then a lot of times I just clean my palette just because I like as much mixing space as possible. A lot of painters don't clean their palettes during their painting session, but I definitely do. And just look at that gorgeous, whatever color that is.
Purple, lavender. Woohoo.
Lavender, yeah. And I just love those kind of colors. Like, ah, man, you know what? That might work really good up here in the sky.
It will.
Our sun.
Save it. Ooh, use it. You can't mix that again now.
Too late. I'm gonna eat it.
Oh no.
It's too delicious. So yeah, that is my color palette. This is kind of it. I used to have a very set palette of, this would be like a cadmium yellow light, Indian yellow, cadmium red, light or medium, quinacridone red, ultramarine blue, and manganese blue, and a titanium white. And that was my go-to palette forever. But now I almost think more, I want a white, I want a yellow that leans towards green, I want a yellow that leans towards orange, a red that leans towards orange, a red that leans towards purple, a blue that leans towards purple, and a blue that leans towards green. So, when people ask me like what color specifically to get, it's a tough one because I truthfully just reach into the drawer and think of that more than the specific color. And then you also have to decide, are you painting more opaquely? Are you painting more impressionistically? Or are you painting more like illuminated and more transparent? Then that will also determine what colors you choose. If
This is the one that I'm struggling with, is the transparent versus opaque, or how to choose, how to make up my mind beforehand. Because watercolor, you don't have.
Am I feeling Monet or am I feeling Maxfield Parrish today? And I lean towards Maxfield Parrish and the tonalists more often. I love Impressionism. I really, really do. But it just a lot of times feels like I'm pretending to be somebody else.
Yeah.
So, you know, and you can't know that until you've painted a lot of paintings. And I still do love to pretend I'm painting somebody else, which is probably what I'm going to do here. So what I want to do is, especially for you newer students, is we're going to talk about something called mother colors, or something I call mother colors. And how I like to talk about it is, imagine this painting, right? We've got our light coming through. I'm kind of picturing a light, bright yellow coming back, kind of warm, peachy fog, and these kind of purpley gray hills, kind of a purpley gray sky up here, maybe leaning towards some blues. And then the water is going to be warm as it reflects, and it's kind of got the fog over the top of it in the distance. And then it's going to turn more to the yellows, then to the peaches and the pinks. And then it gets towards the purples. And then those lead into the blues and greens that will be in my shadows. Those blues and greens will be brought into the shadows in this area and in these rocks, as well as the reflected warm yellows, oranges into the lit areas of the rocks that are facing the light. That makes sense. Oh, and the waves too. I've got waves. There's a lot here. Never mind. This class is going to be 6 hours long today.
Woohoo!
But did that make sense how I kind of think about that?
Yes. I
All
like
right. So again, I'm going to try not to get in the way of the camera too much here. It's just a lot of area to walk back and forth here. I'm going to start with that far warm area, right? So I just said that it's kind of going to be a light, warm yellow. So you see how I added yellow there? I added both of my yellows and a bunch of white. And you see how I'm making a pretty big pile? It's a pretty big painting for one. But I like to think of this again as the mother color, or another thing I like to think of it as almost octopusing the colors, where each one of these colors, I can make little arms that come off it. Right? Those are the mother and its babies, or the octopus and its arms. And I know that maybe towards the horizon, it's going to get a little redder. That's that's my cadmium red. So it's a little warmer. I'm going to go ahead and wipe my palette knife off. I'm going to grab the cooler red, which is my quinacridone here, and watch what happens here. It'll just also make kind of an orangey peachy color, but it's a lot cooler. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Orangey, more pinky. I can also bring in more of my orange yellow.
Ooh, I like
Look at this happy mother and her beautiful babies, right?
Yes.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
So what's happening is I'm creating a relationship within this. So you can imagine these colors in the sky, in the tops of the water there, I hope. What else would I like? Just more of a, let's go with the cooler yellow. So it's just a slightly more yellowish version. And the nice thing is I can create by moving the mother over, like again with the octopus arms, I can create these transitions between these colors. Does that make sense? Like, I mean, octopusing sounds weird. It's a weird thing to say, but so does mother color. They're all weird things to say.
I like mother colors.
Yeah, I think that's better. But isn't that just fun to see that relationship?
Yeah.
Right. And truthfully, I'm going to run out of that color in a heartbeat. I probably should have made much bigger piles of each one of those colors, especially if I actually want to approach this in a semi-impressionistic fashion. All right. So we've got this area kind of thought out a little bit here. But you can see these pinks and purples could be along the horizon. They could be in the fog in the mountains. They can be at the base of some of these clouds as the light's working its way up. So let's think. I kind of like this warmer red. So let's go ahead and see what happens if I make a reasonable sized pile of that. All right. Another thing I like to do is called bending the colors. And I say it's called, like, that's literally what all artists call it. I have no idea what other artists call it, but it's how I think of it. Okay, so that's really dense. That color is looks like candy. I don't think it's going to fit into my painting. Maybe it would, some highlights or something. So I'm just going to take and add some yellow, because my favorite color is salmon or peach colors. I already like that better, right?
Yeah.
I've left a little bit of that pink on top. But that already feels better to me. I think we all have colors that we're comfortable with. You know, for me, it's the browns and the grays and the greens. And then when I get to the colorful colors, there's not many that I'm really comfortable with. But for some reason, peach, I really like. People have told me, like, I can tell your paintings from across the gallery because of the peach color in them.
Yeah, I noticed you didn't have orange. You didn't have.
Rarely. I find orange to be really a kind of ugly color. But that's, again, that's just me. That's so personal.
Mhm.
Well, it
Like-
varies a lot too. I've noticed the paints, when I looked at the paints, some of them are very to the red and some are very to the yellow.
Yeah. Yeah, I love golds. I love auburns. I love like reddish browns. And I think that's just part of our style. That's part of our thing. All right, I got to remember what I was doing here. So I'm painting kind of a band. Instead of doing an octopus or a mother colors, I can also do bands of color where I create these transitions, almost like a slow moving transition in colors, because I want to get towards, from that warm, I'm going to think, I want to go towards kind of a purpley color. Let's see if I can without it turning to muddy brown.
Well, I love the purplish thing you've already got in the painting itself. You know, right now you did this nice segue from the yellow into that very calm purple, very muted.
You see how this color transition from a pink to a orangey peach to a light peach to a whitish to a back to a pink, back to a purple. I love seeing how colors bend. And a lot of times I'll have these long lines, especially if I had my big mixing area down below. I'll just make these big bands of color as they transition. And it's really wonderful for like the water, where it's going to change. It's going to have a gradation, right? For some of you guys that have been in my previous classes, we talk a lot about gradients and about how, you know, down here it's blue, purple, greenish, and then it gets toward, you know, all the way up to pinkish up here because of where the sun is setting. So how do we make these gradients, and how do we make them feel natural and like they lie down and like they communicate well?
So do you always mix up, you know, your octopus and your bendings before, no matter what size painting?
Only when I'm smart. So yeah, very rarely.
Michael, would you say that bending the color is making cools and warms within that mother color?
Yeah, it is. It's the same basic thing, except for it'd be like one long arm.
Yeah, yeah. But looking at the colors, I see warms and cools in that bend that you're making right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just, again, I'm thinking of my transition in my clouds. I'm definitely thinking this area is cooler going towards warm. I love this color, but that would look crazy in this. So I've got to figure out how to kind of kill it a little bit. So it's a purple. Who knows how I kill purple?
Yeah.
Yellow.
Little yellow. Let's see what happens. It's going to turn to brown, which is probably not also the color I want in my sky. But it's beautiful, and it neutralizes a little bit.
I was going to say, try a little white just in a corner and see how that felt.
Yeah, and Payne's
Maybe.
gray. Payne's gray is a great color for neutralizing
Mm.
colors as well.
It's not the same.
Mm.
No, it's too light. A touch of ultramarine blue.
Yeah, to cool it down a little more.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what it needs. A little bit.
So see that big jump?
Mhm.
Yeah.
All I do is take my palette knife,
Yeah,
create that transition.
there you go.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Then I can just take my palette knife, make a pile, because right now it's so thin, right? I've scraped it. Make a
But
and now I have a band of transitioning colors. Unfortunately, way too small. But you can see my thought process here, right? So we've kind of got the sky figured out. I'll be able to use a lot of these colors in the water. Probably just have to darken them a little bit. The water will be darker than the sky. Typically, the reflections. I almost might want to start here because I don't have a huge mixing area, and then we can come back in and start thinking about the rocks in the distance. But what I do want to do before I do that, and I may even be able to use some of these colors, is I've got these distant hills, right, receding back into space. And that's kind of what we're really talking about today, is atmospheric perspective. There is, in my initial sketch, there's actually a hill way back here, which we took out during the Thursday class. But I actually might bring it back in, but just leave it really light. Can you guys kind of see that back there?
Mhm.
Yeah,
What do you think of that? Does it
I like it.
enclose? Because we were kind of worried that it makes the whole thing feel closed and it doesn't let you through. But I wonder if we really left it faint.
Yeah.
If it would be something of interest, but yet not enough of an interest that we wouldn't be able to just jump past it mentally and right through it.
It could also
Leave
be
it
a-
till last, just in case, because I really do think
It'll close us in.
it'll close it.
it
I
could-
would feel closed, that it closes in.
it could
Does
also
it?
be a low cloud bank like you also see.
That's exactly what I was going
Yeah.
to say. I was going to say we could put it in as a hill, and then if we don't like it, we just make it a marine layer.
Either way.
What do you guys think of these color choices? Because I was really going to have us vote, but I figured if we did that, we could be here forever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we could
let's
be.
go with them.
I think they're beautiful. Get started.
Go for it.
Yeah.
They're lovely.
All right. And truly, these colors are brought to us by Gail. Gail is one that introduced kind of the idea of purples and yellows to me. And like in her paintings, I was like, oh my gosh, so beautiful.
I love
And it wasn't a
purple.
real combination that I had done much of, but it makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. It does.
All right. So I'm going to.
The other thing too, Michael, is that if you look at those colors, they're all pretty darn close to the same value, which I think is really cool, because you can take a whole area and make it very colorful, but all in the same value to add all kinds of texture and depth to it.
Yeah, Monet was the master of that. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Monet's paintings in black and white.
No.
Some of them just disappear. But then when you go back to color, they're so vibrant and
Yeah.
colorful. And that was such an interesting lesson for me, is to realize that you can do it with values like that, right? See that light?
Mm.
Try to not look at that.
Really,
All right. Bring it down here.
that pops.
Mhm.
So that's values, right? Lights and darks. Like it just jumped far in the value. So this is kind of a warmish yellow, right? You guys can hopefully see that.
Yeah.
That's on there. It's a little maybe cooler than the color that it's on top of. But as I go away from this area, it's going to begin to cool down. I can do that simply. Let's try it real quick before we get too far. But just by adding more white, watch what happens for this yellow as I add just white. You see how it's cooler?
Yeah.
The value's the same, but the temperature, because we got to think of white not just as a tool for lightening, but as a tool for cooling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Let me go ahead and scrub that down. I'm just going to grab a different brush. Because it's so strong. Boy, I don't know where all my brushes are. I did a major clean, so a lot of them are still wet. But watch what happens. So I've got this glaze underneath, right? So watch what happens when I use the white that I've got on there. It's going to, I hope, as I scrub into it, it's going to mix with that glaze.
Perfect. Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes.
And as I come across, it's going to get warmer. Plus, I'm not cleaning that brush, so I'm just picking up more paint.
It's true.
Isn't that a fantastic gradient? Doesn't this almost look purplish?
Yeah.
When we know it's not purple at all, that's just white and yellow, or the undercolor mixed. So it's so fun that we get to. That's kind of one of the reasons I like painting into my glaze. Sometimes it's great to let it dry, but a lot of times I can use it to harmonize, to soften. You know, there goes my whole idea of making it an impressionist painting, right? I'm just scrubbing as I always want to do.
Are you
This might be a
implying
good way
then
for
that,
us to go ahead,
that
sorry.
are you saying then that Impressionism requires big, thick paint?
A lot of times, or at least it, in my opinion, as a non-scholar of Impressionist paintings, is that it's broken brushwork,
Yeah.
not blended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meaning that you put one brush stroke next to another brush stroke,
Yeah.
which I love.
And let the eye do the blending.
Yes, optical blending. Yep. So let's see what happens if I bring this down to our pretend hillside back there. Now all of a sudden that hill pops out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's so powerful just having kind of white mixing in and less white, less white, less white. Isn't it weird that this should be brighter, lighter, but this feels warmer and more sun-like?
Definitely.
Remember that. These are all great little tools and tricks and fun things that we get to use as painters, but they're also the things that bring us the greatest frustration. It's like, why isn't this feeling like the sun's over here? Why does the sun feel like it's over here when I'm putting, you know, the most light or the most white over here? And it's because white is a cool color. Whereas a little bit of yellow. Let's try a lot of yellow. What happens? I'm going to remove this. That's just pure yellow. Let's see what happens. Isn't that interesting? See how our brains almost want to read that as lighter?
Yeah.
Sure looks lighter.
Yeah, and that's because our brain has a hard time differentiating warmth and light, I find. That we read warm colors as lighter oftentimes.
If you were going to put this on a value scale, the yellow back there, not the color yellow, the whiter yellow. What is it? Sort of right in the middle of the value scale?
Oh, not right in the middle by any means. No, it would definitely be up towards the very lightest side of the color value scale. But, you know, we're dealing with a very limited transition in values here compared to, you know, if you had this whole value.
Yeah.
All right, I'm taking too long, and I want to paint this like I got a time limit.
Go for
Like
it.
you guys have lives outside of this Wednesday class here. All right. So let's bring in some of our other colors here. Let's take a little bit of this white or bright yellow and maybe scrub it in. Okay, quick question. So you see how I'm kind of using this wave ideally to kind of push us back. Like I'm kind of picturing this, not circular, but almost circular with a bit of a zigzag or an S curve through it. I've got these trees that'll kind of bring us back. I purposely put in this curved tree here to work as a curve to come back. Within the clouds, I'm kind of liking this flat cloud bank.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I could use this area as, okay, let's figure out, what do we think if I was doing arrows in this painting, right? Arrow, arrow, right? And then it's kind of going to come through this wave, arrow, kind of bringing us back in, right? Back into here, maybe it turns here, up here, right? Maybe a lot of us are going to take multiple, got this tree here that's going to kind of bring us back into it. What do you think up here? Should I actually make movement, or do I kind of make it a subtle movement that, you know, because we just don't want people flying off the top of the canvas?
Yeah.
I think you should do subtle because the atmospheric perspective takes you back
I think it needs purple up there.
of the mountains. I mean, boom, boom, boom.
Right. But I was wondering, like, do we want big dynamic clouds? Or this is almost like line of clouds with a little bit of a break
I
here.
I like what you have, but
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful. Boy.
Right. And what I'm thinking, and I'm glad you agree, because that means you guys are smart. Just kidding. Is that is again, we have so much dynamicism already that I think if the clouds were really, really exciting and electric, that it would be just
Neat.
so much, right?
Yeah.
There's something
Yeah.
about a painting that's exhausting to look at.
Mhm.
Mm.
So let's bring in
I
some of
think
our
if there
other
is
colors.
a little purple in that sky.
Yeah. Let's get to it. Let's make a transition of kind of a pinky color. It's a little bit too cold, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, interesting. It feels so warm up here. So I'm just going to grab some of our orangey color and just make a transition. Transitions are our friends. Gradients are our friends, especially in areas where you don't want the viewer to spend too much time. Like it's nice if they look up there and go, ooh, that's pretty, but they're back to the story, right? So you see those warm transitions, all of a sudden the pink didn't feel like such a big departure.
Mhm.
I hope.
Mhm.
You guys can tell me if I'm wrong, if it doesn't look like that to you.
mm,
I like it.
Very nice.
Get back to these pinks. I'm gonna mix them with a little bit of those oranges, just because obviously this quinacridone is a little too cold. Even lighten it up a little. And that's what's great about these mother colors, right? Is I don't have to keep them to their pure selves. I can
Mix between,
mix between. Yeah, I think that feels better, right? That doesn't feel so cold.
right?
Get back to some of this coldness. I'm going to bring it actually down along the tops of these trees. You guys mind giving me 1/2 second? I think my wife might be calling my name.
No problem.
Somebody reach over and put some purple in the sky.
I liked the sky the way it was before. I liked it just with that very simple.
He'll
But that's
change
the
it.
thing, commenting on a painting while someone else is painting it is
Yeah.
is hopeless because we don't have the inside of his brain, you know, so we don't know where he's headed. I mean, you know, he may have some vision already in his mind, which even if he kind of tells us, it's still, I don't know, you know what you're capable of, but you don't necessarily know what he's capable of.
On Thursdays, we often paint group paintings.
Yeah.
Not so much in the color, but in the where things are and whether something should be heavier or a little to the edge or something like that. So,
Actually, this design is from one of our Thursday classes.
yeah.
I remember.
Mhm.
Right.
All right, let's get a little crazy and just see what happens with some of these cooler grayer purples. I'm curious. I'm scared, but I'm always scared.
Be brave.
Can't be brave if you're not scared.
Oh,
Mhm.
be fearless.
I always like that saying, you can't be brave if you're not scared, because otherwise you're just, yeah. So to be scared, face it. That's more rewarding.
There are many things that you should be scared. If you're not scared, there's something wrong with you.
Sometimes. Sometimes I'm old enough that I'm not afraid of much anymore. I'm going, oh yeah, somebody tried that 30 years ago and it didn't work.
So you see how vibrant all of a sudden those pinky purples are?
Mhm.
I'm not sure if it's too active,
No, it's not.
too dramatic. But again, we're all coming at it from different tastes, right? You know, I know that Graham loves color and Regini loves color. And then Gail and myself are scared of color. Not scared of it, but just. And see, even that blue, so I'm going to go back to a little Payne's gray. I just want to see what happens if I just gray that down. Again, I'm trying to keep the focus over here. All right, I'm going to do a little scrubbing in there. And I'm just looking to cover big areas and feel it out, because again, I can come back in and repaint over all of this. So I'm really just trying to feel it out. Back to my pinks. So I get over here towards the light. But you see how when I scrub and start mixing all these colors together, they automatically kind of gray down, don't they?
Mhm.
They begin to neutralize, which can be a good thing or an excruciatingly painful thing when you don't want it to happen. So what you got to really realize is, just like I was saying earlier, if you put a red, yellow, and a blue, or an orange and a purple, I mean, orange and a blue, or a yellow and a purple, or a red and a green near each other, and you let them touch, you're gonna end up with brown, because what you've automatically done there is let all three primaries intermingle. It's always amazing to me when students, especially new students, are like, how do I mix brown? I'm like, how do you not mix brown?
Pretty cool.
So now I've got enough paint on there. You can see I'm already beginning to just turn it and move. See how much better that feels?
Yeah.
Yeah, much
It
better.
just calms down a little bit.
And it echoes those watercolors in the foreground so well. It brings it all together.
Michael,
Yes.
please take that yellow spot on the far left away in your trees.
Oh, there.
There you go.
There, that's
Yeah.
it. Just blur it
Bugging.
down a little.
It's
It was
bugging.
awfully bright.
And what I do like about having that acrylic underpainting is even though I'm blurring all this out and squishing it down, I'm going to come back in and paint these trees back. But it's like having my drawing that I can see.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So if you decide you've made a mistake with some aspect of the
How
acrylic,
dare you take it back?
do you go in with gesso and just paint it out, or do you try lifting
No.
it with rubbing alcohol, or do you just try and do such opaque on top that you won't?
Sure. I mean, it depends on when I notice, right? Like right now, I can be like, holy, who even thought that was a good idea, right? That yellow, that's crazy town,
Mm.
right? So I can just wipe it off. Another tool I have.
No, but
is
this
my
is the acrylic. The acrylic part is what I'm talking about.
Oh, if it's just the acrylics, yeah, feel free to gesso over it or just use white acrylics.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. That's what's really nice about doing the acrylic underpainting is you really do have, I mean, if you're patient, like a lot of times, maybe close your eyes for a second, but I'm going to turn the camera. No, I'm not. It won't turn. It's locked. But right beside my camera to my left is 6 panels, big ones, that are parts. Some of them are commissioned. Some of them are projects for a show at a gallery. And I plan to start them all. I've already got the drawings on, which I don't normally do with pencil, except for some reason with vineyards, because there's math involved, real perspective, you know.
Mhm.
I drew them in pencil and now I'm going to go over them with acrylics. And I like that because I've painted enough vineyards that, and math is not my forte. In fact, I think I became an artist so I could stop taking math classes in college.
There you go.
And yeah, so real perspective where you're really dealing with a whole bunch of lines going together, you know, one row facing one direction, another row,
Yeah,
a different slope of the hill, you know, all these different things. What's funny is you'll think you've got it and you'll paint and you'll paint and you'll paint.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, one of them just peeks out as like, haha, I'm in the wrong perspective. And your whole painting sucks now. And so I really do spend a lot more time in my drawing. Whereas something like this, I'm just like, all of this is malleable, right?
Yeah.
Like I can get rid of this hill. I could raise this hill. It could become a mountain back there. So yes, I do more of my vineyards with this acrylic underpainting and with actually drawing in pencil.
I did a vineyard painting a number of years ago, and one half of the vineyard seemed to be climbing up into the sky.
Yeah, totally. And it'll feel totally right. Like I'll even be swearing that I'm copying the photo, but it just somehow appears different. Yeah, I had a cousin over the other day and he saw my drawings on the canvas with pencil, which he had never seen before. And he's like, "Oh, you're cheating now." Like, I wish I could just straight out of my brain figure out depth and perspective and you know, lines as they all of the things. But then I showed him like the photos. I'm like, look, this, this vineyard's coming in from here. This vineyard's flat. This vineyard's coming towards us. Like, what kind of crazy math is that?
Michael, I have a question.
Please.
I read some time back that it was not good to use a graphite pencil to draw because for some reason it makes the paint flick off at some point.
Yes,
heard
that is,
that?
thank you. That is such a, I'm really glad you said that.
Yeah.
You are totally right. What I do when, especially if I'm going to go straight to oils, is I actually put a very thin acrylic wash of color over my drawing.
Mhm.
If you just go straight to your acrylic or your graphite drawing, paint thinner and lead, they just don't work. It'll just wipe the lead right off your thing and it'll muddy up your colors.
Perfect.
But just a thin wash. I can even use watercolor and cover it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, that is I learned that back in college, trying to do kind of the same thing. There, does that feel kind of like the sky? We can move forward. I apologize. I've spent so much time in this area.
It's
But
beautiful.
does that kind of feel like
Very nice.
this is going to begin to illuminate the rest of it? Like I've
It's-
created a bit of a light source,
Mhm.
Absolutely gorgeous.
and we
I
can
love
bring some of that light down. So I think we've gotten rid of our hill, and now it's
Yeah.
become a marine layer, correct? So I'm going to bring some of that light down because it's coming from this side of the painting, and it's going to get further down into that marine layer, and then the marine layer will get a little denser as it goes over here. Again, I can continue to paint on this. Just because I've kind of covered it and I'm going to move to a new area does not mean this area is done. And watch what happens here. Let's see if it works. I'm going to try to hint at a couple smallish glowy clouds down on the horizon. Let's just see. Just taking some of that light paint.
Nice.
You see how all of a sudden that really recedes back into space? We went from a big cloud
Right. Very,
to glowy, softy clouds to that. And I can take those almost down to the horizon line, but they're going to become, because they're in the marine layer, they'll probably be a little more diffused, right?
Yeah.
Even if there's bright, glowy clouds, they're still behind the fog that's sitting on the water. Let's test. Let's get a little crazy. This isn't something I would normally do at this point, but I'm just going to go ahead and grab some of my bright white and just see if I can illuminate the underside of these clouds. And just to see what happens, I can always add and remove, but let's just see. Might be too dynamic, but it might be also leading us towards this light source. Can you guys see that?
mm-hmm.
Kind of like the clouds are a little bit underlit. You can even bring it all the way over here.
Mm.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And again, you just don't know. That's why I want you guys to feel free to experiment, because if I decided that didn't work, right? Like over here, maybe it's a little too strong. Well, let's go ahead and punch it through, because I don't want it to stop right when it gets to the trees, right? I want to bring it through. And I'm just thinking of this line. I care nothing about these trees, right? I am miles behind these trees.
Mm.
And imagine when I come back in and add color, reds, browns, greens on top, and bring these trees back on top, I'm still going to get that little bit of glow, right? I can even take it all the way. Sorry, Cheryl, we're bringing back that bright yellow.
Oh, it's not as bright as it was, and it's not at the wrong place either.
That's
That other
exactly,
spot was the wrong
that is
spot.
exactly right. You are exactly right. So what happens if one of these clouds is catching a little bit underneath? right? It's subtle. But now we've got a little bit of movement. Maybe that's too much. Maybe this is too strong. And again, I just don't know. I'm making this up. It can be way too much. And it is, it's so stripy, right? That looks stupid. You can say it, it's okay.
If you're blending
Yeah,
brush,
the
nuts,
front ones are awfully bright.
Right. So what do? If I kind of like the idea, I just dissipate them, right? I just clean my brush.
spread it around. Yeah.
Softening, especially the tops. I can leave the bottoms a little crisper. What I also didn't do was create a connection, right? They were just kind of appearing and reappearing. So what if, where do I want them to connect possibly? Maybe here? It's a lot. That's a lot.
It's also right in the middle, I think, at least. It looks
Yeah,
like.
and they're really parallel to each other, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get rid of this one. Or soften it. And let's change the shape of this one to make it even bigger. Again, experimenting. This is it's like sculpting with clay, not with wood, not like I'm carving. It's like sculpting, right? I can add more clay. I can pull the clay away. I think that's something that we forget with oil paints is that they're very malleable. They're very forgiving.
I think this is also where your memory comes in.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And whatever that feeling is that you want to invoke with your painting, I think that's where those two things come in and really make your painting unique.
Yeah, and this is, yeah, you're right. And it's about the different kind of shapes we like to make, the different marks. So I kind of do like what's going on here, but I don't like this. You see my two fingers, how it creates two lines. So I'm wondering now, what if I blew open this portion a little more to even make the light over here even bigger? So it's not just a straight line. I want to keep the line, but make it less evident, less strong.
Now you're talking.
Right? Yeah, Graham, you're the master of this with your big clouds and stuff. Like you're really good about creating that sense of movement. And yeah, I might just invite all of you over one by one to work on this painting to bring in, because we all have our own gifts. We all have our own focus and interests and things that we like. Oh, I already like that better. See how that broke it up? It's just not such a straight line.
Definitely.
So what I wish is that the 3 islands or whatever those muffins, they're just so similar in shape.
Yes.
You are not wrong.
That was apropos of your sky. You were worried about the clouds being a little too repeating, and I think they're a little too repeating.
Yeah, let me bring some of this reflection down into our water, and then we'll deal with that, because this is actually where the lesson is today.
Because we all do it.
100%. Well, not all of us. Some of us are chaos. Some of us are British.
I'm chaos. Right.
And I'm British. I don't want to create like these repeating forms in all my paintings, but boy,
So we
if I
do
don't
it.
think about it, I just, all of a sudden my trees are fence posts.
I did portraits for a long time, and little kids, they always, when they try to do a face, the face is turned. It's supposed to be 3/4 or profile, but somehow the eyes always end up right in the front.
The middle.
And it's because we want symmetricality. There's something in our human, something or other.
Like balance.
Yeah, we like it looking nice and neat.
Yeah, have you guys ever seen the articles about models, like supermodels or even really famous actors that we really like? And they'll show their face half and half, and they're very symmetrical.
Yeah.
And then if you show like the right side of my face and just duplicate it, I don't even look like the same person if you do it with the left side of my face. Like it's two different people.
Yep.
And our faces aren't really that symmetrical generally. But we're so drawn towards symmetrical organization. I already like that. There's that marine layer, and now the light's kind of coming beyond it, and I'll soften that edge. I won't have that brown edge there. I can probably do that with some of the pinks. Let's just see. Because if there's a marine layer, that line where the ocean and the sky meet is often really quite lost.
Yes.
Oh, doesn't that feel better?
Yes.
You see how your heart rate just went down a little bit just because I didn't have that strong line? And so soft edges, transitions, let our eye skim across. Whereas all of a sudden this, before I started painting all these colors in, was a big soft diaphanous shape. But now it's being carved out, right?
And it's very dark.
To a certain extent.
Yeah, doesn't it feel so dark? That's so funny. Yeah, and
Michael, where does your light source go?
My light source is still somewhere back in here.
Okay, but it's not really there right now.
Yeah, it's because I don't have, like, if I
All
put
right.
in lines of where the
Okay.
light is,
Off
you see
camera.
that? All of a sudden now you know. You see how all of a sudden those cast shadows point towards the light?
Mhm. What fun.
All right, let's get back to some of our pinks and brownie pinks and but yeah, great observation, Cheryl, because the truth is, because my light is streaming all the way across here, but watch what happens when I either wipe it away. In fact, what I'll do is do the proper way. I'm just going to take a cooler color and watch what happens. All of a sudden, the light is going to appear to come from the right.
Yes.
Just by cooling or graying those warms down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only the sky, but it's also what it's illuminating.
It feels like that last little island moved. It's almost like it shifted.
Yeah, too high now. I've made it too far
Right.
back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower that. And I'm going to take this fog and I'm going to add that fog over here. And I'm going to bind these two shapes a little more because they were so separate, right? So watch what happens when I lower this fog onto the same level. All of a sudden they feel much more connected.
Yeah.
Let's take some warm orangey light and let's bring that into those hills. So let's just see if I can't make this hill really fall back. Okay, let me grab my handout real quickly, you guys. Do you guys mind if I take a 1 minute break? I just need to grab something to drink. My throat is getting scratchy, and I'm going to grab my notes because this is the lesson.
Okay.
All of the rest of it was just a teaser. I'm getting smarter. I brought up lemon ginger water, which I used to have to go get it midway through the class.
Excuse me.
That's all right.
It's really beautiful.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, oh, where's my notes?
Excuse me.
All right, let me see if I can read and paint at the same time. I don't know if I've done this one before. All right, using atmospheric perspective to tell a story, right? So we really talked about the design, the movement, kind of what I'm thinking about, what I'm very questionable about, different elements. We've thought about the sky. So, you know, the story is these crashing waves, the sun setting, this very atmospheric day at the Oregon coast or somewhere between, you know, Canada and Northern California, right? Where we have these beautiful rocky coastlines that are just unbelievable. All right, using atmospheric perspective to tell a story. What is atmospheric perspective? You guys know?
Moving things
All right.
around.
Yeah.
Is this a test?
Yeah, it's a test. Everything's a test.
All right, it's a reduction in the brightness of things as they go away, or the more reduction in the color
The create.
Yeah.
as it goes away. You lose. Well, on this it wouldn't, but you lose your red first, and then you end up with your
You
blue.
lose your yellow first,
Yeah.
typically.
Okay.
And things become cooler.
Yes.
Yeah, but in this case, it's different, right? Like it is going to be, things are going to get cooler, but so yeah, let me just read my little quick note here to you, and then we're going to talk about what's different about this painting versus that. And you've got to always say, here's the rules or the guidelines, but what's happening? Why is it happening? All right. So atmospheric perspective creates the illusion of depth by altering clarity, color, and contrast as objects recede. I'm trying to talk slow enough for you that are writing this down. Distant elements appear lighter, cooler, and less defined, mimicking how we perceive space in nature. Tools for creating depth. Use these design strategies to guide the viewer's eye and build spatial layers. Lines, repeating verticals like trees, posts, shrink and fade into the distance. So we have these pine trees. These are going to be my closest. Then I'll have this. And then there's going to be pine trees on the tops of these hills. But they're going to get smaller and less defined as they go back. Proportion. Distant objects appear smaller, right? I've got my rock, which is not that big compared to this whole mountain or hillside back here, but because it's so close, it feels massive. Same with this. And then they're going to get smaller and smaller. Overlapping, right? It's a big one. Overlapping layers create spatial hierarchy. Foreshortening, which we're not really dealing with too much in this painting. That'd be more for like figure painting, or if like you had a tree trunk or a log that's coming towards you or something. Foreshortening compresses shapes that recede toward the viewer. Value shifts, that's something we're going to deal with here in just the next little bit. Lighter values suggest distance, not brighter, but lighter. Clarity, crisp edges in the foreground, soft edges in the background. Right? So we're going to dissipate these lines, these edges. You can already see it beginning to happen versus crisp, hard edges as they come forward. Okay. I'm just going to stop there. We've got a whole nother page of notes, but I want to talk about this. So when your light source is behind and you have fog or atmosphere or clouds or whatever, that is capturing the light coming from behind it, right?
Yeah.
So imagine it's just 1,000 particulates of moisture floating in the air, right? Or what I like to think of it as sheets of gossamer, right? If you have one sheet of gossamer, you can see right through it, or like a screen door, you can see right through it. But if you put another one and another one and another one, so imagine here we have no gossamer, right? Here we have one layer of gossamer. Back here we're going to have 2 and then maybe 3. So it's going to become very soft, right? It becomes really hard to make out any edge quality. Does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't even remember when I started thinking like that, but it really like just just softens the edges, softens the edges. So imagine if you have this gossamer, but the light is coming from behind it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not on your side, but behind it. All of a sudden, these areas that are picking up the moisture are being illuminated by that as they come forward. So you'll see that in a lot of my paintings. I think it's just one of my favorite things to see. The truth is that often things will get bluer, cooler, and grayer as they recede into space. But if the sunlight is behind them and illuminating that air, that moisture, those particulates as it comes towards us, it's also illuminating those particulates. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if I want to pretend that there's a layer of fog back here. Ugh, what am I doing? That's crazy. Right? But there's this fog back here on these hills, which isn't up close, right? Because fog gets denser as you move back into space, generally. Then
Is that another
If you
set of
need-
rocks there? Those two little,
yeah, let's get rid of those. You're right. Thank you. You see how that looks wrong, like the colors are wrong, but you see how the effect, the luminosity or the values feel better?
That's
And remember which, got too many brushes down here.
Mm-hmm.
Watch what happens to these trees.
When you were saying it illuminates from the back, then does that mean it turns more yellowish?
It turns more whatever the sky color is. Yeah, the light, the source of the light. It's capturing that light. So in this case, it is yellowish. But you could have, you know, a reddish sunset, a goldish sunset, an orangish sunset, and it would just be that color infecting or affecting those. So let's bring back some color into that, because you see the tops of those hills look really weird. So those hills are also being affected by that warm light, just not to the same degree. So I'm going to see what happens with pinky purples. It's going to go from a cool to a warm as it gets to the light source. Still, the colors are wrong.
See, which pinky, did you choose the pinky in the middle there? Or did you?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Let's go now. Let's pretend that warmth is really capturing the tops of those hills. Let's just see. This might be crazy. Probably going to be crazy. But I just want to see what happens if I really make it like that light is really catching.
mm-mm.
Is that you saying no, incorrect, or like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine
Like,
anything more
no,
beautiful?
it's not right.
Rub it down. I love it.
It's a little too red, but it could be if you softened it. Okay.
See where it goes.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it shouldn't be a little more purple, because you said you've got trees up there. So those would all be vertical and causing shadows at the top of those hills.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry if my head's in the way. Sorry. I gotta like walk around the other side of the camera to mix my colors. Next
time, try putting the palette on the right.
I probably
Okay.
wouldn't, I don't know, would
Then
that
we
go?
won't be able to see it again.
Sure you would, because it would be just where the painting is now.
But I'm painting more on the painting, but yeah, you're right, maybe.
Used to be,
That feels a little better. Where your light source is, it feels to me as though there would only be a very slight amount of that color on the top of those hills, but more on the front. Do you understand what I mean?
Well, it depends on what you think the front is, but yes.
Well, that would be the front that's sticking out there.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So on the edge here.
Yeah, more on that edge, but less on the top. Just, it feels like where you say your light source is not going to affect the tops as much, just in a very thin way.
You still have to rub it down.
This is where I'd be running back outside, hoping to find some distant landmass. So I could see what actually happens.
Yeah, and that is what ends up happening with me when I'm out plein air painting a lot of times is I'll take a couple notes and then I end up just watching because everything's happening so fast
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of times I'm just like, I think it's more important because I have become more of a studio painter than a plein air painter. Is like, it's so important that I have this data.
Much better. At least to me, anyway.
Yeah, the darkening is helping me feeling the mist.
I think that last
And-
hill needs to be knocked back a lot. Yeah, Bill.
And the deeper you get into those spaces between the hills, it feels like the darker it should be.
This
Does
way.
that make sense?
Mhm.
No,
The deeper
those out
this way.
there.
Closer they come, the darker they should be.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The last hill in the back needs to be knocked back still quite a bit.
Much.
Mhm.
Now the water is looking very green.
Isn't that funny how the colors change?
Mm.
And remember when I put that color on first, how yellow it was, but now that we've got reds and blues and purples near it,
Yeah.
completely changes. Yeah, the colors are so, I don't want to say arbitrary, but just they completely depend on what's near them.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So you see how I kind of connected these value-wise?
Mhm.
Like they're very similar. It doesn't feel like, hopefully, it doesn't feel like such strong broken shapes. Doesn't feel as repetitive because I've merged them. Even though I have a break in temperature, the value, if I turn this into a black and white, that little orange band there is almost the same value as that purpley gray.
Yeah.
I love those pinks. Or you call them orange, but they look pink.
It's okay to love pink.
Beautiful.
I don't really love this shape, and you guys see that strong line right there?
Yeah, it's too strong.
Too strong.
Bull Hill is too strong.
Better.
Yeah, let's take and see if we can't bring a little something down into here. And again, this is my first pass, right? I'll be able to come back in and refine these. I'll come back in with like a ruler and, you know, put in lights underneath to ground them. Watch what happens here, because see how floaty it feels? By just bringing in a highlight line, like where the fog, oops, sorry, that's a dirty brush. Let me clean that brush a little more. Let me go ahead and, this is the first time I've dipped a brush into paint thinner the whole day. Isn't that weird?
Very good.
I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it's just.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that grounds them.
Not interesting.
That's, yeah, I love that.
Here we could have a little wave crashing against a rock coming across, maybe a little more, maybe a little wave crashing against this. But what I want to do is keep things as horizontal as possible when they're back in the distance, right? Linda Camarada, this is dealing with your little creek or river or whatever trail, whatever you ended up making it in that painting. We were talking about this, that as lines recede, like we can have angles up close, but as they recede, they get flatter and flatter and flatter generally, unless they're just magnificent angles, like, you know.
So, because this is a big painting, presumably you're expecting that you'll be coming back to it tomorrow or the next day or maybe several days. But what would you expect that that background light, the light colors would have darkened by tomorrow because they're not that thick?
A little bit, but you know, and yeah, what I would do is either tomorrow, yeah, I would just respond to it. You know what I mean? If I put in thicker brights,
yeah,
then they will, you know, stay thick and be more opaque. But yes, you're right. With thin, transparent layers, they can get a little darker.
Well, because I was just trying to imagine what your thinking is in terms of, you know, that you'll come back and this part you'll fix, or this part you're going to do something else. You're going to add some cools, or do you know what I mean? You're already in your mind, because you're in charge of this and you've been doing this a long time. You have it, you know.
Right. Yeah, that is exactly right. But a lot of it is, I mean, I wish I knew more about how painting works. All I have to do is know a little bit more than you guys, and then I can teach.
Now he tells us.
But this is just the first layer.
But I mean, a lot of it is responding, because I mean, as much as I know, paintings still just constantly surprise you. They're constantly, you know, just the reactions. And that's why I don't use many mediums. I don't use a lot of unknown colors. You know, I might have one guest color. But a lot of times I just don't invite too many variables into the painting all at one time, because there's nothing worse than waking up the next day going, you know, what happened? It's like making a cake with all ingredients that you've never used and trying to figure out why the cake tastes crazy, right? But if you've made a bunch of cakes and then you invite one other, you know, oh, I'll use cinnamon this time, and it tastes different, or cardamom or whatever, right? You can say, okay, that was too much or too little, or don't use cardamom again, or whatever it is. So yeah, as you're learning as a painter, I think it's just really useful to limit your experimentation to a level that you can understand, right? Control the variables. I don't think that's at all what you were asking.
Well, no, I was, you know, because I used to paint and in oils, and I've been not painting in oils for a number of years. And I know that my mind would be already, you know, planning things. It's just that now I've forgotten oil. Oil is not watercolor. And so I have to kind of reconform my brain. So I'm interested to see what your what your staging is. Because, for example, the way you lay out your palette, I realized watching you that I've never been a colorist. I've never done well with color. And part of it probably is that I never laid out a palette ahead of time. I never did what you just did with the octopus and everything. And I can see that that makes it a lot easier once you go to paint to kind of have a series of colors that go with each other, with resonate with each other. And so so now I'm interested in mentally, when you're approaching this, where you've already done your acrylic, you've already set up the drawing underneath. So you're not going to be presumably concerned with that. So what would you be expecting tomorrow to bring? Or,
Yeah, so my ideal, because you guys see this, like how green is this color all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
So there's no longer a harmony in these colors, which was at the beginning had a harmony. But what's cool or fun for me is these aren't the colors I wanted. You can see how crazy pink that is. That's not the right color. But watch what happens talking about broken color is as I cover more and more of it, I can actually use some of that underlying color to harmonize. Again, I know I'm using the wrong colors. These peaches are too vibrant. That doesn't communicate at all with what's going on up there. But you see, by the more I cover, the more fun these little bands of greenish, but what used to be yellow before.
It adds another layer, like a built-in
Right.
glazing or something.
Like, look, I just made a wave.
Yeah.
And it's harmonious still to a degree.
The other thing is once you start putting paint on those rocks in the middle and the rocks on either side, it's going to change the color again. It's gonna change.
Yeah, it'll change the values completely. Once I put in blues and purples and greens and blues and purples and all those, all of a sudden these colors even become brighter and warmer. So that would be my goal today. And I'll keep painting hopefully after we're done here, is to cover it. So then I can begin to adjust my colors. You just don't know how they're going to play together until you put them together, right? It's like throwing a party with all your friends and you're just like, I hope the Joneses and the Davises get along.
Will it be set up enough tomorrow, or will it?
It depends. If I was going to glaze into it, not at all. No. But I wouldn't glaze, but I can paint thicker and thicker and thicker. I can just keep loading paint on all day. I just have to have a more and more gentle touch. Have I not talked about that in this class yet?
Yes.
That's such a good question.
I think it looks fabulous.
Yeah.
Right, but you see this strong line, how it draws so much attention? So watch what happens when I just wipe my brush off and just soften this line up. Okay, we have 1 hour left of class. Would you guys like to take a short break and then go look at your guys' paintings?
Sure.
And talk about what we have on Padlet, because we weren't able to do that last week. I can basically, what I'll do is cover at least the water today without you guys. And then I can come back in and we can talk about carving this, maybe filling in our cave next week.
Can you film?
Show you about, because the next week's class is all about foreground and texture. So it kind of works out really well.
Can you film the water? What'd you do?
Yeah, maybe I'll do it tomorrow and film it. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, I would like to see the entire piece done.
God, you're so greedy.
Give me more.
I agree, Graham.
Okay.
And if we're going to
I just don't want to bore you guys. And because we didn't talk about your guys' painting.
Nothing is boring in this class.
I don't know about anybody else, but I learned so much more from this than from almost anything.
All right, would you guys like me to keep painting or do you want to critique?
I like keep painting.
Yeah, I'd like, let's finish up.
I
the
don't
wall.
care.
I want you
All
to
right.
make a bigger cave. If you're going to keep it, that little teeny dollop, I just don't, I think, give it a bigger cave. Make
All
it
right.
taller.
I think
Make it
it's in the wrong place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
it's
He
a
has-
lot of focus in one area because we're
Yeah, he
already gonna have
has
that
two
crashing wave.
fronts coming down there.
yep.
If you sort of combine those two, I don't know how to explain, how to tell you where, but closer to where you have that, just that white splotch, out a little bit further from there, you could make a nice cave.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving it would help.
A friendly cave. Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, over there. And then the wave would point towards the cave, which would point towards the,
Yeah.
Right. And there's not much you would have to do, but you would have to get rid of that little jog in the line about halfway out of this on the shore.
all
or
right,
where the
before
rock
our
hits the
break,
water.
just so Cheryl will relax. Ready?
Oh,
Yeah.
Ready?
Yay. Yay.
All right.
Yes. Good, good, good. Now see.
I do like that too.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
I
let's
think your
pretend.
waves,
Let's
your crashing
pretend.
waves are
Yeah,
going to.
you can
pretend
have a
and see.
wave crash up there.
Yeah, it's gonna be more, it's gonna have. more
Out
impact.
further, out further.
Well, and this wave's gonna crash up all over
All
here.
right.
Yeah.
And then we can have these waves.
And who says we need it?
We don't really need a cave, but if you're desperate for one, you have to change the end of that rock.
Fine, I'll move our clubhouse up here.
All right, that'll be good.
All right. I have to admit, no cave feels better.
Mhm.
Another painting.
And watch, we'll have like atmosphere and
Well, you have
know.
these waves. You're going to have wonderful waves going on down there.
right.
And it sure made your eye look up toward the horizon and the sun.
Yes. Big difference.
I agree. Everybody gets a gold star today.
Yeah.
All right, let's I do need a break.
Yeah, me too.
Let's go ahead and take 10 minutes. And you guys, does anybody disagree with more painting?
No.
Nope.
No, more painting.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so just me. I go with everybody, but since I'm new here, I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind the critiquing and the painting being filmed, but I'm fine with going with the painting. I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, absolutely.
Well, the new people haven't had a critique from you,
Hardly at all. No, yeah.
so
You're
they're
like
not too
halfway
sure
through,
what.
right?
Mm,
So start with the new people.
Yeah, or
Okay,
just,
so
Thank you.
we'll take a 10-minute break. We'll come back. I'm sure the class is going to be long. We
Yeah.
actually got somebody to walk the dog today earlier, so I get a little bit of break before I need to walk her again. So yeah, and I would love to talk about your painting, Mind Jay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's beautiful and I love your drawings. And so I would love to. So how about that? The 3 or 4 new students, we'll talk about your paintings real quick. All the rest of you, I barely care about you at all.
Yeah.
That's all right, we're used to it.
Take you all for granted. And then we'll come back and look at my painting. We'll paint a little more and get the water hopefully covered. And then we'll do the foreground and rocks next week.
Sounds
Sounds
good.
perfect.
Sounds good.
Woohoo! All right, great.
Thank
See you
you.
guys in 10.
Okay.